There's a place where the living and the dead trade whispers.
Where shadows don't just follow, they watch.
Where one thin barrier holds back what waits on the other side.
You've stepped into the veil between. What you're about to hear drifts between fact, belief, and the unknown. The veil between is for entertainment purposes only.
Our stories, research, and experiences are our own, not medical, legal, or professional advice.
So step carefully, and remember, the choice to believe is always yours.
Welcome back to the Veil Between podcast, fam. Hope everyone's having a great day. And welcome to our closing episode of season 1.
Yay, one entire season.
I know.
It's an accomplishment, and thank you all for the support. We really appreciate it. We've gotten a lot of support, especially internationally. Wow. Seeing the international numbers really surprised the heck out of me.
I know, all over.
Yeah.
Let me see.
We're a big hit in Singapore, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, Singapore. I was literally just going to say that.
It's like,
Singapore, China, Australia,
yeah.
Spain, France, Canada. I mean, really small countries too. Brazil, Argentina.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop, my homeland.
But yeah, I was really surprised to see those numbers because, our channel is just now reaching over 100 on YouTube. And I think, oh man, we're not really growing. But then I looked at the analytics. I'm like, whoa, what is going on here?
They're little creepers. I think they're not yet sure if they want to subscribe to us. I think they're just trying it out, seeing if they like it, which is totally cool.
Yeah.
We have a long way to go to prove ourselves, Like you said, though, one whole season is huge. That's a huge accomplishment. I'm proud of us.
I'm proud of us.
It started as an idea and our nerdy selves talking and having these conversations amongst ourselves. And we were like, maybe we should just speak into the void. And maybe there's other people who'd be fascinated by these conversations. And I think we're doing really good. I think we have a good outreach. I mean, it's not like millions of views, but to me, it means a lot. I would rather have fewer viewers and fewer fans who are diehard fans and really get us and become a part of the community, because that's what we're all about. That's what Arcana District is all about. It's literally supposed to be a district, a community of like-minded people in the metaphysical community and bringing them all together. And so it's about quality over quantity. And you guys, all of our viewers, you are amazing. And you ask amazing questions. You're curious. It's just amazing, really.
Yeah. So thank you all for the support. Really appreciate it. We'll be coming back in October with season 2.
Yeah, maybe even September. It'll be sometime before Halloween. So it might be late September, might be October. Not sure yet. We're still figuring some stuff out. We have a lot of stuff planned. We'll talk more about it in the closing of things that are coming your way, because we have a lot still in the works that we're working on during this time off. So we're not going radio silent, and we're going to come back for season 2 with even more crazy stuff. We have so much in the works.
And also, if you still have questions in the meantime, feel free to ask. If you think of a question, you don't have to wait to ask, the season's not. Just send a question in. You can DM me, you can DM Simone, you can send it through our Discord.
Yeah, or you can email us.
Or email us, whatever. If you have a question, and you don't always have to, you could be anonymous. It's fine. I completely understand this, that sometimes this is something that a lot of people practice in secret because it could be maybe taboo in some certain families and certain communities. And I completely understand. If you want to be anonymous, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, I personally have had family judge me pretty hard when they found out when I first started reading tarot and stuff. And so I know exactly how that can be. So we're a safe space, no judgments. Everyone's on their own different journey. All journeys are different. And so, we're just here to help in any way we can.
Yeah.
And provide that safe place for a whole community of people. You're going to find new friends. You're going to find other people, outside of me and Guy, where, you can really build those relationships. So today is going to be all about answering your guys' questions. We put out a call on our socials and you guys came with the questions. So we are going to answer questions today, and let's just jump into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So our first question comes from Kelly the Jabberwock.
Hey, Kelly, thank you so much for your support. We always appreciate your questions and your comments. They are incredible, and it keeps us going. So thank you.
Absolutely. Do not stop with the questions.
Yeah, do not stop.
Have you ever met someone in the astral plane or been able to communicate with someone in a dream, meaning an earthly person? So I'm thinking she means like a living person. Do you think that this is possible?
I do. I've done it before. Astral travel, astral projection. I believe it's possible. It is strongly possible to do it. And as mentioned many times in the Bible, prophets do it all the time. And there's also different types of projections too. There's also dream projections and there's also astral projections. So you have to differentiate the two, but both are possible. Yes. You can communicate with people, but to beginning practitioners who are just starting, be careful when you're navigating the astral planes because you might not know exactly what you're looking at. And one of the things you're going to discover is that entities and other beings, other people and other practitioners are able to mask who they are from your third eye. So I might not even look like me when I'm on the plane, right? I could look like something else completely different. And you could be talking to something, not knowing what you're actually speaking with. So that's my advice. It's possible. It's actually rather easy to do once you get the hang of it. I would say if you're going to start a practice of astral projection, start meditating. Meditating is such an essential thing, essential practice, essential precursor to everything that you're going to do in a spiritual journey, especially for magicians. So that is my suggestion so that when you do astral travel or if you're interested in taking up that practice, you're able to do it in a more controlled manner.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, you probably know, well, I don't know, you can tell us. There have been programs within the government, secret programs of astral projection and remote viewing.
Yeah.
I forgot what it's called. Do you remember what the project was called?
There's a
There's so
code
many
name for it,
projects.
yeah.
Yeah, but there's a movie, Men Who Stare at Goats, right? Is that what it's called? With George Clooney. And it's all about the military sect of people who remote view. They're psychics, they're trained, shows that they meditate, shows how it all, how it works and how they are able to navigate. And I believe there's a lot of documents that have been disclosed over the years already talking about remote viewing. And I believe that if you go into some of those documents, it'll actually tell you step by step how to start remote viewing.
Yeah.
So those guides are out there for you. I'll see if I can find them. And if I can, I'll post them on our Discord or something. I'll find them. I'll put it in the show notes somewhere because I also am curious about it. Like I find it fascinating. So I'll find it and I'll share it with you guys. And then I also wanted to say, well, did you want to say anything about the government? Like, have you had any interactions with that in the
There are a
government?
few things out there. Number one, they actually were very successful. They're going to say they weren't. One of the things the government learned is that everyone can do it, right? And if everyone can do this, then that means you can't keep any secrets. Imagine if everyone was ascended like Jesus. You just know where you'd be able to keep secrets from people. So if everyone mastered this ability, the government would have no power. Remember that the main theme behind all the lies they say to you and what the media puts out is to try to make you feel insignificant. So they're going to lie, or they're trying to make it seem like only certain people can do it. Everyone can do it. Everyone can do it through the universal laws of magic. So that's just why I wanted to throw that out there, that they were successful. The government was successful, and the government has their own psychics and magicians that work for them. Yeah, so they made that movie, I guess, kind of like a parody of the whole thing, but they actually were successful. So, and the next thing is that astral projection. There are different forms of it, and it's not necessarily the same thing as an out-of-body experience. So astral projection, when you're projecting through the astral planes, there's a myriad of frequencies, many. And some don't even look like, some people, when they're grounded in this reality, when they project, they might still see their room, but they might be having an out-of-body experience. And then some people can project completely into different realms of existence. So there's different levels and layers. So that's why you hear so many different stories. That doesn't mean that they're discredited from what they're saying. That just means they might have went to a completely different frequency. But we could probably do a whole episode on that another time.
So when I was younger, I must have been like 18 or 19 because I had just started working, like an actual job. And I was still living at home. And my nonna they were always very nomadic and they would travel around all the time, like to visit all the different family members and stay at each place for a little bit of time. And so they had been at my house for, I think it was like maybe a week or something. And I was so busy the entire time working. The first time I ever had a job, I was working. I didn't get to spend any time with them. And this was the first time I didn't even get to see them, say hi. And I was very, very close with my nonna. Like I said, we had the same type of abilities. She had vivid dreams all the time, very, very much prophetic dreams, lucid dreams. And so she's where I got my knowledge and my education from. So we were very close. So I was so upset. I found out that they had just left that morning and I had just missed them and I never even got to say hi to them. I was so distraught. So, I was in that state of mind and I was really tired after work. So I laid down for a nap and the nap felt I call it like psychedelic. When I'm having an out of body experience, it feels very psychedelic to me. It just feels very detached. It feels kind of like being drunk and loopy and you're not grounded. I think that's the best way I can describe it. So immediately after falling asleep, I have an out of body experience and I literally look down at myself and I see myself sleeping in the bed. Well, I turn around because I see my nonna start walking around and she was always very much like a little old Italian granny. She would always walk around and talk to herself and laugh to herself and clean up. And she would always clean up after everyone. And so she was always busy doing stuff. She never sat still. And so I saw her while I was having my out of body experience. She was walking around the room that I was sleeping in. Even though I was sleeping and dreaming, I knew she was not there because I knew she had already left. Like she was already out of town. And so I was trying to talk to her. I was trying to get her attention and she was just, mumbling to herself and laughing and whatever. And she couldn't hear me. And I was getting really concerned and frustrated that she couldn't hear me. And I kept calling out for her. I eventually fell back into my body and woke up and I immediately went to my mom and I was like, "Where is Nona?" And she's like, "What do you mean? She's on her way, to another family member." And I said, "Well, have you heard from her? Has she made it there? Because I'm really concerned because I just had this event where I saw her spirit and I know she's not here and she was literally in this house. I'm concerned." So she called, she found out that they were fine. But the crazy thing is my grandma said, "You know what? I fell asleep on the drive. I was sleeping in the car and I saw Danica." That's that's how she says my name. I saw Danica and I saw her sleeping in the bed and everything. It was so crazy. So that was like my earliest and most memorable event where I had an interaction. It wasn't really an interaction because we weren't able to communicate with each other, but we both saw each other without realizing that the other could see them. So yeah. And thankfully she was very much alive.
Wow.
Crazy story, huh?
Yeah. That's definitely an example of astral projection. It's a near frequency astral projection. So what that means is near to the material plane. So that's why you're able to, when you saw things, it looked like what was happening on the material plane. As opposed to what I was saying earlier, like some people, they just see wild out stuff, like far out stuff, right? So yeah, and there's also, want to throw one more thing out there. That's a really good example. There's also another example of astral projecting through drug-induced methods. So I know Joe Rogan and a few others are very, very adamant about ayahuasca and peyote and all those other things that help you astral project as well. So there's a lot of ways to do it.
Just be careful.
Yeah, be careful.
Be safe. Be careful.
It's a whole nother ball game out there. If you get your silver cord plucked, something like that happened, get it tampered with, you could be in a lot of trouble. Make sure you prepare yourself. Joe Rogan is very responsible about how he does. He always expresses to people to prepare yourself before you do it, especially if you go deep in there, like with the ayahuasca and the other stuff. Yeah.
Another example, and I'll make this really quick. I had an experience. It was still early in my marriage, and I dreamt that there was a woman chasing me and coming after me. And it kind of felt like a tunnel, like she was trying to drag me down with her. And she was very adamant that she did not want me to be with my husband. She wanted him for herself. It felt very tangible. She felt alive. Yeah, she felt like a living person. And she was actually actively trying to cut my cord. I had to fight to protect myself and I had to fight to wake myself up so that she could not cut my cord. Like I had to sever that off, the connection and the dream, so that she couldn't cut my cord. But she was adamant. She did not want me. I mean, she was jealous or something, or she just wanted me out of the way. And yeah, that was crazy because I felt very much like I was in like a wormhole kind of thing. It kind of felt kind of like a tornado. Like it was like I could see the cone and like she was trying to drag me down and she was like trying to pull on my cord. And she was like, "If I can't have him, no one can." It was insane.
Well, it's crazy. Yeah. I have another horror story for astral projection too. sometime during the early 90s, I met a witch and she was talking about how she astral projected. And when she astral projected, she was in this weird, like, tropical island and she was walking through this place. And then all of a sudden, she ran into a group of hags. She says a bunch of hags. And at first, they were all just kind of looking towards this leader that was standing on this hillside. And she had a staff and she was just tapping. And then she saw my acquaintance and just started screaming. And she said when she started screaming, it just felt like a rush of power hitting her and knocking her on her butt. And then they turned around, they started chasing her. So she ran. And so she was terrified and she could feel them and that they were screaming the same thing. Rushes of pressure would come through and like knock her down. And tried to knock her off balance while she was running.
Like sonic waves.
And she managed to finally disappear from that plane. But every once in a while, she can still hear them or feel them.
Even now.
Yeah. Well, I haven't spoken to her in years.
Well, I mean, like,
afterwards,
yeah.
she had told me, like, it's been, like, months later and I can still feel them.
While she's awake or when she's dreaming?
At random times during the day.
So,
she'll be daydreaming and she can feel their presence.
Oh, gosh.
She could feel she could feel that pressure on her again of them yelling at her. So, yeah, they were like, one of them said, "You're not one of us." And she's like, "But I'm a witch too."
That's a really important lesson to learn because with those practitioners who know their craft, who really meditate and are able to control their minds, they are familiar. They understand the concept of every person has their own frequency. Like we each have our own thumbprint. It's unique to each person. And so they knew her frequency.
Yeah, they knew it. That's what I told her. I said, they are able to trace you. Like you have a unique signature. They can find you.
Yeah, just like a hound dog can smell and they know each person has a different smell and they'll find you once they get your scent, I
told her also the fact that you were scared, that for negative entities made it easier for them to track you.
Because it made her frequency resonate that much louder, for a lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
It made it brighter. It made it louder. It made, you know what I mean? It just made it stronger so that it was easier for them to be like, there you are.
Yeah, she said that she knew that they were going to try to sever her cord and trap her there and then torture her. She could feel their intent.
Wow.
And I remember her telling me that story and I was horrified. I was like, good grief. Like, wow.
Wow. All right. That was a very long answer to
Yeah, it's a very long answer.
First question, but I think that was solid. All right. So the next question comes from Holly Knightley.
Hey, Holly. It's a good friend of mine. She's awesome.
Do you have experienced or have reason to believe that the dead can communicate with us through dreams? Or is that just the human conscious looking for peace?
Yes. I believe that they do try to reach out to you. The dead does try to reach out to us. When we are in an unconscious state of slumber, it's probably a lot easier for them to reach us because the consciousness has certain walls, guards that protect us from a lot of stuff that's out there on different frequencies. So it's probably easier for them to do. I've heard whispers and seen things when I kind of dozing off to sleep and you can feel the presence in the room. And then that tells me, hey, you haven't cleansed your area in a while. It's time to start vanishing and cleansing. But I've been there. I've felt the presence. I've heard whispers. I've heard the voices when I'm usually for me when it happens, it's just some anecdotal experience. It usually happens in between when I'm drifting off to sleep and then I can feel another presence in the room or I can hear a voice. That's usually when it happens for me. Or sometimes when I'm sleeping and then I can see something that's sticking out in my dreams that shouldn't be there. And I'm like, wait, hold on. This isn't part of the simulation of dreaming. This is something different. This is something separate from my consciousness. And usually they like to sometimes invade, for lack of a better term. So it's not always a malignant thing. Sometimes I just might need help. But I don't personally, like she knows my stance and most people do. I'm very anti-spirit, so I banish immediately. Usually I don't play around with them. I don't want them anywhere around my vicinity. So if I see that, I usually just get to work. So over time, I think I would say in the last 2 decades, they know not to come around me.
Okay, very good. And I just want to say that to the second part of your question about, is it just the human subconscious looking for peace? I definitely think it's both. You know what I mean? nothing's written in stone. Like there's so many different scenarios, so many different things. So yes, I've had clients who have asked me to help them interpret their dreams because they have the most craziest dreams. And a lot of the time they're stress dreams, so their subconscious is trying to work it out in their sleep, trying to help them work through it. Right. So that is definitely a possibility that it could be. You really have to meditate, sit and think about it, journal about it, whatever you can do to analyze it, to figure out whether it is, just your subconscious trying to work something out or if it's something trying to communicate with you. I do have another story, personal experience. I've never considered myself or categorized myself or advertised myself as a medium because I don't have control over it. Like I can't they don't talk to me on a daily basis. And it's not something I have ever wanted to refine and strengthen. So I don't consider myself a medium. With that being said, I have quite a few mediumship type events that have happened. And so when I was younger, before the psychic attacks and everything, before I learned how to protect myself and ward my space and literally shield my space, my house is a sanctuary. Nothing comes through. So, but before that, I wouldn't say they were dreams. They weren't dreams, but I would be sleeping every night where I'd be in the middle of sleeping and I would hear whispers. And it was always like in my right ear, but it always sounded like the only way I could ever describe it was like the Adults in the Peanuts cartoon where it was just like, "Mah, mah, mah, mah." I could never understand what they said. And it was so frustrating. And I just remember I was always frustrated. And I was like, what are you saying? What are you saying? Why can't I understand you? I was so frustrated. I was like, if I'm supposed to be a medium and you're trying to talk to me, like these spirits are trying to talk to me. Why can't I understand you? Why can't I hear you clearly? Like it was very frustrating for me. And a few times, crystal clear, my name would come clear as a bell. And it always was a female voice. And it was kind of like a question, like, can you hear me? Like, Danica? Danica? But it was a whisper, but it was loud. And it was so clear that every time it happened, it woke me up every time. And I would, jump out of bed and I would get so frustrated because I was like, dang it, I finally heard something and it woke me up. Like, I just want to, like if I can help them, I want to help them. And this is the thought I had when I was younger, and I still feel that way. I want to help spirit. If spirits come to me, it's because they want help most of the time to move on. The few times I have had spirits come to me, it's literally been a life or death situation where I had to pass on the message to the person that was literally right there with me in the same room. That's only happened like 10 times or so, somewhere around there. But every time it's literally been life or death. So I don't know. I have no control over it. And I feel like maybe those spirits are like, you're close enough. Like you're literally the only person here who's right next to the person I need to get the message to. Like you'll do. And they make their presence known and they do not take no for an answer. They kind of just take over until I pass on the message. But since then, I've learned and I don't mess around. Like you said, like I keep my house on lockdown. It's my sanctuary. It's the one place I can be safe where nothing, disturbs my sleep. I'm already an insomniac. Like I already get a very limited amount of sleep. So I don't want that messed with anymore, especially in my old age. But yeah, so those were two really amazing questions. Yeah.
Yes, good questions.
I'm sure that I could communicate more if I put the energy into it, like put the focus into it and the intent and the training. But I don't want to do that.
Well, everyone can.
Right.
Everyone can. That's one of the things I have to express to people. Like everyone can do it. All these gurus out there that are trying to pretend like you can't do it and you have to go to them, guys, you could do it. You could do exactly what they do. You can. You're made in the image of God, so you can do it too. It's just a matter of who's further along in their journey. That's it. And not everyone's journey is going to be the same. Something you guys have to remember too. Not everyone's journey is going to be the same. The paths are sometimes different in how you reach your goals. Okay. So I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah. All right. On to the next question. This question comes from the Alchemist Sage.
Hey, Sage. Good friend of mine, fellow magician.
Their question is, in your work, have you tamed entities to the point of a friendly attachment and companionable spiritual kick-ass sidekick? like an open audition to your own spirit team?
No, I have not. I'm extremely militant against entities and spirits and things like that. I just cleanse them. I don't I don't trust them. My experience, I've seen them, do really bad things to people. Usually when people call us up, they're in bad shape. So I don't tolerate any entities, really. I don't. I cleanse my home immediately if I get any inkling that they're in my home. I mean, every time you walk in, there's just frankincense and myrrh going, right? I don't tolerate it. So I'd say honestly, no. No, I usually ward them off immediately, repel them, banish them. I don't play games in that regard. So I've never been able to befriend one, to be honest with you. Yeah, and I think that they've become wary of practitioners. You leave a signature on either players so that after a while they become wary of you and they try to avoid people like me.
Kind of like the girl who's like has the aura like don't approach me.
Yeah, don't
You know what I
approach
mean?
me.
It's like they see you and they're like, ah.
I was like, oh, it's that guy Quintero. He's gonna banish me again. I'm gonna be deep into the nether, and I don't want to really deal with that, so I'm just gonna avoid him. Right? I'm just now finally making it back to the material realm, and he's gonna put me back in the hole. Like a lot of them avoid me. I think I have a really awful reputation in the spirit world as that guy that will f you up if you cross any lines. So the answer for that one is going to be a no. But I've heard a lot of stories from other magicians. I've had a witch friend who she had a weird, like I call it a little nasty, but she kind of had one as a pet and it did little things for her. She said she's like sometimes she had an itch or something, it would come and scratch her back. That's anecdotal. I don't know for sure. I never seen it. I just heard what she said. So yeah, me personally, no.
That's funny. Okay, so in the house that I grew up in, we had I called him and I considered him a shadow man. He did have a top hat. Now, with that being said, I do know that there are some practitioners who believe shadow people are negative. Maybe that's a certain classification, but this spirit literally looked like a shadow and he had a top hat. So I call him a shadow man. I don't know if it's the same as like shadow people, but that's the way he presented himself. And I never had any problems with him. He was actually a cool dude. My mother had a theory. She thought it was an old deceased neighbor that used to live in our neighborhood. That's who she thought it was. I have no idea. But literally, I was a kid, and every night he would do rounds like he was checking on all of us, like especially me and my brother, making sure we were safe, tucked in our beds and stuff. And he would literally go walk down the hall and peek in to every single door. And my parents always had a no closed door rule. And I was like, F that. Like this guy, I don't need him looking in at me when I'm sleeping. So I'd wait till my parents were asleep and then I would close the door. That being said, that didn't stop him from still sticking his head in and just making sure I was still sleeping. I didn't get any bad vibes off of him. I just didn't want him looking at me when I was sleeping. It kind of creeped me out. But then he would also go, he did a full round. So he would go down the stairs through the living room area, and then he would go back up the stairs and then he would go away. This was every night without fail. And I do remember one night years later when I was dating, I had a boyfriend. We were sitting in the living room watching a movie and my mom was actually with us. And his head snapped to the staircase. And I saw it at the same time out of the corner of my eye. I knew it was the shadow guy. It didn't faze me anymore. It literally had been like a decade plus that he was just there. And so I watched my boyfriend to see what his reaction would be. And he just stared and stared and he didn't want to say anything. Like it was clear he didn't want to say anything. He didn't want to acknowledge it. And my mom also saw his reaction. She looked at him. She goes, "What do you see?" And he's like freaked out. Like, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "You see the shadow man?" And he's like, "Yeah, he's right there on the staircase, just watching us, just staring straight at us." And both me and my mom were like, "It's fine. He's been here forever. Like, he's just making sure we're okay. Like, he doesn't interact with us in any way. He just makes sure we're fine." Like, it's the craziest thing. And then what I did was, and I was young. I didn't know any better. Spirits have always been around me. They're just there. And so it's never fazed me. They don't really interact with me that much. They were just there, kind of like people in the street, just there. So then years later, when I moved out of state with my husband and he got deployed and I got attacked by the psychic vampire,
So that was your first negative?
That was my first negative encounter.
Okay.
And I have shared this story already before. There was like a 3-month long process. I couldn't get any help from anybody. I didn't know what to do. Every time I fell asleep, I was attacked. I was at my wit's end. I did call out for the shadow man. Like I said, we all have our frequencies. I connected with his frequency and I said, hey, if you wouldn't mind, I would really appreciate you checking on me while I'm sleeping because I'm literally being attacked while I'm sleeping. And he came. He came for a brief period of time until I was able to shield myself until I figured that out. And then I told him, thank you so much. You can go wherever you want to go now. I never believed, and I still don't believe, in keeping entities around. I want them to move on because if they're here, then they have unfinished business or it's because we're keeping them here. And I don't think that's healthy for them or for us. They really need to move on to the next step of their life. And then one other quick encounter I did have, I was doing a cleansing. I think I might have shared this on one of our case study episodes. I'm not sure if we told that story yet or not. But one of the homes I went to do a cleansing on, there was a really bad negative entity, but there was also a good entity. And he came forward and basically showed me that he was keeping the negative entity at bay as much as possible because it wanted to do worse things. And he was trying to help the family. He felt like a very old spirit. He felt like a Native American spirit. So it felt like he was like tied to the land and he really wanted to protect the family. And so he actually assisted in the cleansing. And once the cleansing was done and the entity was removed, I again told him, thank you so much for your help. You can move on now. You shouldn't be here. There should be nothing tying you here. So it's time for you to move on. And it did. I just don't believe in keeping anything around, but I do believe that there are plenty of good spirits that can help in situations if they just happen to be there. You know what I mean? If they happen to be there.
We always butted heads on this.
I know. I mean, it was already there. It was already there and it was already helping.
All y'all getting banished. Screw that. But we don't always agree. Just
we're on the same page here because I don't believe in keeping them around. But I also don't have a problem interacting with them.
Everyone has different methodologies. I'm stuck in my ways, but yeah. So we hope that answers your question, Sage. It's a good question. Very interesting question. I like that. Do a kind of a curveball in there.
Yeah, I love it. All right. So next question, we have another question from Kelly. Her question is, Guy mentioned his thoughts on the universe and how he doesn't believe it is as the scientists portray it. I would love to hear more about that. What do you think the reasons might be behind why they would want us to believe these things about the universe? Is it for us to worship the coming aliens? Is it demons who have infiltrated the government and are preparing us for worshiping them?
Very good question. A very intricate question. I might have to do an episode on that because I couldn't do it justice here in the short amount of time that we have per question. But yes, you are correct. Some of those aspects are true. But mostly, I would say the number one reason, because there's a lot of reasons, I would say the number one reason is to depower you. The lie of the universe being this giant, expansive thing, and we're not just somewhere in the backwater region on some floating rock, and there's millions of other floating rocks and probably other life forms out there. That lie was created to counter the Bible and to come up with a lie to make you feel and seem insignificant in the grand scheme of the universe, which depowers you. So this is the reason why they don't want you to have a biblical worldview. It makes you feel mundane. It makes you feel insignificant when you're not. You're very special. The reason why the devil has put so much resources into convincing you that you are insignificant and to trying to subjugate you is because you are special. Your soul is very valuable. Your mind is a very powerful tool. And when combined together, the mind, body, and spirit, extremely powerful. You are made in the image of God. So you have to look at those aspects like that. So one of the reasons why they try to convince you of their scientific worldview is because they don't want you to be powerful. They want power over you. The second one is, yes, they want you to worship them. It's been the same game that fallen angels and demons have been playing since the beginning of time. They try, because we're stuck in this state in the material realm, they're not. They lord it over us, right? They lord over their abilities. They lord over their presences. They lord over their knowledge over us, because we are a species with amnesia. And now we're very short-lived in comparison to our predecessors. So they are basically trying to make us feel insignificant, so we look up to them, right? All media tries to make it seem like everything is greater than people, everything's stronger than people, and it's not. It's the exact opposite. You are stronger than everything. This is the reason why, and I've said this many times before, you can summon a demon or a spirit before you or an angel before you and bind them to your will. Why is that? Because you're made in the image of the Lord. There's a reason why you can pluck them out of existence. I couldn't just, you know, Simone and her husband, hey, come on over, you know, set up a ritual and summon them right there. I'm like, I can't do that because they're made in the image of the Lord. They're terrestrial beings. They're made in the image of the Lord. But you can do that to a spirit. Now imagine how much power you must truly have to be able to do something like that. And they know that. The controllers know that. So, and who controls the world right now is a mixture of, well, it's fallen angels at the very top. Lucifer at the very top, fallen angels, Samyaza, Azazels, a whole bunch of them. And then after that, the demons, which are their offspring. And that's a whole another story. And then below them is the satanic cabal, Luciferian cabal. And Luciferian cabal, and then there's different levels of that as well. Everything's compartmentalized. And they're at the very top, and they want you to feel insignificant. That's why all these resources are put into making you feel insignificant. And the last reason, the third and final reason, is to counter the word of God, countering the word of God with their lies. And that's going to create doubt. And when that creates doubt, it hinders your faith. When it hinders your faith, it makes it difficult for you to accept the Lord's word, which thus makes it difficult for you to accept salvation through Jesus Christ. So now you have this rebellion going on because people, and this is also one of the reasons why they start removing books from the Bible. They're trying to taper it down as much as possible to make the word confusing to people. They tapering it down as much as possible in order, and then hitting you with this fake science crap, in order to control your worldview, steer you away from God, okay? And therefore trapping you here, trapping you in the kingdom of Satan, rather than allowing you to ascend to your rightful place at the Lord's side and reaching your full power at ascension. So there's a lot of reasons why they're doing it. They also don't want a bunch of magicians running around. They don't want that out of their control, right? That'd be a bad thing for them to do, because then they wouldn't have very much control. If everyone was a magician, a trained magician, it'd be extremely hard to control this place. It'd be extremely hard. There wouldn't be any tiers of wealth. Everyone would be wealthy, right? Everyone would be successful. If you were a magician, if everyone was a magician of the light and had a relationship with God, and they were able to impress their will upon reality, it would be extremely difficult to be the person at the top of that heap. So they don't want you to access that power.
Right. It comes down to control.
Yeah.
The people in control want to stay in control. The only way they can keep the control and keep you under their thumb is if they make you believe so many different lies. There are so many different lies, and you can just look at all the various conspiracy theories that people have come up with, because there's just so much evidence that what we've been told about a lot of things is not true. You have your flat earthers,
Mm-hmm.
okay? The moon landing. You have dinosaurs that I'm starting to think that they were really dragons. Like
Yeah.
the T-Rex. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
You have, I mean, the ancient alien theory that they created the pyramids and all this stuff. And I don't know. Somebody built them. I don't know if it was aliens or if we were actually smarter than we are now. We think that we're so smart right now.
Yeah, we're not.
We have clearly.
We're not. I mean, even the Mahabharata, when they talk about the Hindu religion and the Book of Enoch and all these different legends of the past, myths of the past, stories of the past, talk about the technology we had back then was far more advanced than anything we have right now. But I personally believe technology is being steered in the wrong direction on purpose.
I mean, I also think that we're purposely being trained, I guess, to think and to divide ourselves based on culture, ethnicity, color, language. We're purposely being separated when we're all just people.
Yeah.
I do not see color. I think the only thing that's a real barrier is language. I only know English. But we have these handy phones with apps where we can translate automatically in real time. And so there's ways through that barrier now. But there's so many things keeping us separated and keeping us apart. And then we have wars are just excuses to keep us all at each other's throats. Racism is an excuse to keep us at each other's throats instead of living in harmony,
Yeah.
which we could do. We could do, but there's the programming that we've been fed for generations is so strong that I don't even think there's a way to unravel that right now. Like, it's just never going to happen.
Well, divide and conquer is like the oldest military strategy, and it works well.
Yeah. And so with that, maybe making us think that, there's going to be an alien invasion or they're going to, announce their presence or something and of course, it's always they're going to land on the White House lawn, right? And they're going to talk to the government, the president, because he's the highest person, in the world, right? That they're going to work with the government. And so then that'll still leave us needing to go to these leaders in power because we're so ignorant that we don't know any of the truths and the government is keeping all the truths from us that we will have no choice but to go to them and say, oh, tell us what to do now the aliens have invaded, or now they're living amongst us, out of nowhere. You know what I mean? I think it's an excuse to force us to unite under a one world government.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's going to be led by they're pretending to be angels. I'm just pretending to be aliens, but they're actually fallen angels and demons with antediluvian technology. But yeah, that's the coming deception. I've spoken about it, I think, in the previous episode a lot. So if you want to look into that one, if you get a chance to the previous episode about how to find, magician lessons in the Bible and all that stuff and how to learn power from the Bible, that previous episode is a really good one to why they're doing this to you. But the more time that passed on, the more I realized that everything is a lie. And I started clinging more and more to the legends of the past. They started trying to say, oh, meteor came and, millions and billions and trillions of years ago and took out the dinosaurs. It was a flood. It was the flood. They're trying to say that these are Neanderthals they're digging up. And I'm looking at these bones of this, they try to humanize these creatures. And I'm looking at them. I'm like, what the Book of Enoch says that they mixed animal and human DNA and made these awful monsters. And then you look at also the legends of old, like Norse mythology talks about trolls. African mythology talks about kind of an ape man creature, right? That, these are the same creature they're talking about, just different nomenclatures. So this is what Neanderthals are. So they're lying. They're not telling us the truth on purpose. If you do a little bit of research, you can just, from the past, you can unravel their lies. And then you have to start asking yourself, well, why are they lying to me? What they're saying doesn't make any sense. They attach these fancy scientific nomenclatures in Latin to it to try to create a kind of acceptance to academia, right? Academia has been weaponized against your mind to try to make you insignificant. So you have to be careful. I think Samuel Clemens said it best. I never let my schooling interfere with my education. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, no, I think that was a really good answer. I just want to add that by keeping us ignorant and believing all these lies, we will never awaken to our true power. So we're literally fighting an uphill battle trying to retrain ourselves, relearn the truth and figure out meditation. Nobody teaches us this in school.
Oh, they demonize it. They demonize meditation in Western culture.
Or it's not demonized, but it's foo-foo.
Yeah.
It's woo-woo. That's what they make fun of it.
Yeah.
So that you don't even want to try it. Like, oh, I don't know one of those weird people.
Meanwhile, they're doing it. Because if you most billionaires and millionaires you ever talk to them practice transcendental meditation. So why are they all practicing that? But then again, the mainstream media narrative and the narrative from the westernized Christian philosophy is, oh, well, that's bad, it's stupid, or it's the devil, or or it's just some Eastern woo-woo stuff. Well, Jesus meditated. What do you think he was doing when he was in the desert for 40 days?
I think this would be a really good topic to go in depth when we return next season. But just really quickly, I have heard that the Manson family was a CIA operation, that they wanted somebody to infiltrate the hippie movement that was in the 70s. Everyone was peace, love, and literally people were trying to make the earth a utopia. Everyone was like, there's no judgments here. It's a safe space, like no judgments, be yourself, like we're all just people, right? That was the whole thing. They were so threatened by that movement that they inserted the Manson family and had them do the most awful things so that because like right after that happened, all of a sudden it was not cool to be a hippie. It was very taboo. That's when it went downhill. And then the movement just came to a screeching halt. I think that we could definitely do a whole episode diving deep into that.
And that makes sense. The government's always sending agents of subterfuge, counterintelligence to destroy any movement that brings people close to unity or enlightenment, spirituality. They're always trying to keep you separate from another perfect example. Because I believe that, what you said, but because it reminds me of the civil rights movement. It went from something beautiful and unifying to something, very militant and separatist. And it's still to this day militant and separatist. And when Malcolm X was awakening and realizing, oh, wait a second, we shouldn't be at each other's throats. When he did the trip to Mecca and he started seeing that, and then I have a feeling it was leaning him more and more away from actually Islam, but that might be controversial, but he started realizing what they're teaching back home in America is something completely different. We need unity. So he realized that. And once he realized that, they killed him. So there's a lot of subterfuge going on.
Yeah. And I have mentioned it in a previous episode where I believe that we're going through something very similar right now. I think it's a beautiful movement that started bringing the church and God back into people's lives because they're finding that their life is lacking in some way. And so they're looking for something spiritual, some greater meaning to life. That being said, I can already see it's being infiltrated by some people. You have the radical Christians who are like just crazy.
Extremist right wingers. Yeah. And then you have the extremist left wingers too. Both sides are infiltrating the church and then putting their own spin on scripture.
And they're hateful people. They're
Oh,
mean. They're vicious. They judge you hard.
Yeah. Goes completely against what Jesus was saying. Both sides. It's crazy.
Literally just going to say that. Jesus literally said, do not judge.
Yeah.
So be careful, you guys. We are literally in the middle of this next movement of it started out as something beautiful and peaceful and spiritual that we were, trying to bring forward to enlighten ourselves. And it's already, I don't even think it took a few months before it got infiltrated and you start hearing all this negative stuff and they're trying to take it down. So
yeah, the bad guys are always out there trying to work against you, even in the unseen realms. I'm not saying it's demons. But it's demons.
All right. So I think we have time for like one more question.
Yeah, let's just do it. One more.
What is the difference between psychic attacks, hexes, and the evil eye?
Well, that's an easy question. Good question, because you probably hear all those different nomenclatures, but it's the same thing, right? So it might be confusing at first to people who are first starting, but it's the same thing. The evil eye, psychic attack, hexes is all the same thing. It's applying negative energy towards an individual to manipulate their life, their worldview, their experience in a negative manner. That's all it is. So it's the same thing. Applications of negative energy in order to cause a negative outcome and change to conformity to your will upon another person. Psychic attack is my preferred nomenclature for it. Hexing, witches call it hexing.
I think voodoo, hoodoo, they call it hexing, right?
Hexing, yeah. Evil eye, all
evil
of that
eye
stuff.
Is it's Italian, Greek. I think it's cultural. I think
evil eye is also popular in the Middle East too. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've heard one culture, forgot what African culture calls it, the bad foot.
And also, I think we could also do an episode just on the evil eye because I want to make a clear distinction. Some cultures believe the evil eye is a good thing. That's why you see like people wearing the charms of the evil eye, that it's supposed to be a symbol of protection. But the way I was raised by my Italian family, the evil eye was a bad thing.
Yeah.
You need to protect yourself from the evil eye.
There's always wild outlier beliefs out there like, oh, it's a good thing. I don't know any culture that says it's a good thing other than a few. And they had their little evil eye, little pendant. Let me put the to rest real quick. Negative energy and the left-handed path, the evil path, that's what psychic attacks, all hexes, evil eyes come from, is usually the path of sorcery, is usually the path of Lucifer. Lucifer is the all-seeing eye. There you go. There's the connection right there. So the all-seeing eye is Lucifer. Her network in this universe, whether physical, spiritual, mental, is the all-seeing eye. So when you tap into that, that's why you're getting the evil eye. Yeah, hopefully that puts it to rest. It's not a good thing, avoid those little pendants. But I'm sure people are going to argue with me. Always be careful about what talismans and what idols you're using. The Bible warns about that.
Thank you so much, guys, for your questions. Truly, they were amazing. I mean, there are no, ignorant or stupid questions.
There isn't. No.
Like, everyone's at a different level of learning.
Everyone's different point in their journey. Yeah.
Absolutely. And our answers are all based off of our personal experiences, the things that we've seen, the things that we've witnessed, the things we've encountered.
Yeah. If you have a different experience, let's hear it.
Please do share it.
If you're like, hey, I got a demon buddy and we've been thick as thieves for the last 20 years and help me win the lottery or, help me, hey, just because I have a stance doesn't mean you have to take it. Okay?
Yeah, as you can tell, we don't agree.
We don't always agree. Yeah. We don't always agree. And everyone's journey is different. This is the reason why the Lord Jesus Christ says not to judge others. Everyone's experience in this world is wildly different. This is why you can't really cast judgment on others. Everyone's going through different battles. Everyone's experiencing different goods. So it's really hard to get a tone on other people's, life journey. And this is their journey, their perspective, and only God can judge them. All right. I always wish you the best, though.
And so, as a reminder, again, you can find us on social media. We have Discord, we have our website, we have our email, which is theveilbetweenpodcast@gmail.com. So you guys can still send in your questions. And I've been doing research. I've been looking into Substack, which I haven't yet started, but it should be up within a week of this episode going live. It seems to be much more of a community. Like it gives us a community we can host, or it won't be hosting, but we will be having the podcast there as well so that you guys can view it there if you prefer. Like if you're already on Substack, come find us. It will be under Arcana District. And of course, we will share the links on our socials and on our YouTube and Stan store. We'll have the links there and we'll announce it when it's up and ready to go. But I'm hoping that it'll help us grow the community, because Substack seems to be a space that fosters community and allows for that communication amongst fellow readers and the community of people that follow and subscribe. And supposedly I heard that it will automatically create show notes. So we're going to be able to have show notes there. I've been doing it myself manually on the website, but it doesn't seem to get a lot of traction and it takes a lot of time. It's very time intense. So I'm hoping that by doing this and having Substack, that it gives us a little bit time back so that we can write articles, go more in depth, share things, create more no fluff handbooks. It'll just give us a little bit time back to give you even higher quality content to help you on your journey and teaching that psychic self-defense. So keep an eye out for that. We will announce it when it's up and ready and live, and we would love to have you there in our community. Like I said, I founded Arcana District. The initial concept of it was to create a district, a community of fellow practitioners to come together, share their craft, and also people who may not be familiar with the metaphysical, but need help because they are under psychic attack. And I wanted it to be a place where they can find and seek help, because when I needed it, I didn't have it. No one would help me. And so the whole point of Arcana District is to be that for you if you need it. If you need a space, you will find a space here. We will never turn you away.
Very well said, yeah. And look for shorts on YouTube and TikTok.
We have a lot of other things in the works that we're talking about and still brainstorming and stuff, but we have stuff coming down the pike. So just stay tuned. We do have one more episode of Occult Pop. But other than that, thank you so much for tuning in to our last episode of the season, and we will see you next season.
Been a great season. See you all next season. Take care, everyone.